Zelensky, former President Zelensky, still claiming to be President Zelensky, on with Fareed Zakaria on CNN, making an appeal for the long-range weapons because the Russian people must suffer, and only if the Russian people suffer will Putin change. Cut number one.
He afraid only one thing: no leaders, no countries, no nothing. He afraid of his society, Russian people. And if Russian people are in danger, if they don't have comfortable life, if they live without energy like our people, they will understand the price of the war, and they will be not happy with it, and they will begin to influence on him, on Putin. That's why I said, make Ukraine strong, and you will see that he will sit and negotiate.
Thanks be to God, the American Defense Department sees right through that, Scott.
I mean, Zelensky is a fool, a delusional fool. What part of Russian history has he not studied? The Germans occupied a tremendous amount of Russian territory in a conflict that killed 27 million Soviets, many of them Russians, most of them Russians, caused the evacuation of entire cities and regions. Russia relocated its industry east of the Ural Mountains. Is he high? Does he not know that, unlike him, Putin did go up for election? He over 78% of the population participated in that. You know, we had our best turnout in 2020 as I think we had 66%. Everybody's going, man, that's so many. 78% of eligible Russian voters turned out, 88% of whom voted for Vladimir Putin. The man has a mandate to rule, and this is during a time of war when things were going, not so rosy. It was tough. The Russian people said, we're behind you. Zelensky is insane. What he doesn't understand, and again, we've talked about Putin's measured statement. We talked about the direct statement made by the Russian ambassador to the United Nations and Anatoly Antonov's statement. We talked about the back channel, but the one we didn't talk about was Dmitry Medvedev, who basically said, if this happens, Kiev will no longer exist. And it will be hit not with nuclear weapons, but he said the non-nuclear weapons we have that will bring about nuclear type results. That's the avant-garde. Zelensky doesn't understand that he's going to die. He will die. His entire government will die. And the city of Kiev will die. It hasn't gotten through his head. This isn't about equals. This isn't about leveling the playing field. This is about Zelensky, who initiated a war of aggression against the Russian-speaking people of the Donbass, an anti-terrorist operation that allowed the Ukrainian army to go in and butcher women and children and innocents. This is about a man who lied about the Minsk Accords. This is about a man who turned his back on a peace treaty. This is about a man who has empowered the Banderist and Azov Nazis. He will no longer exist. This isn't about equals. Vladimir Putin is a legitimate leader of a viable nuclear-armed power. Zelensky is the leader of a broken nation governed by oligarchs and corruption. And it's high time the West replace this man, because he is. And again, I just want to say this to your American audience. You almost died on Saturday. You almost died. I almost died. I'm mad. I'm mad as hell. I didn't want to die, but it was out of my hands. That man, that insane man that you just saw speaking, holds your fate in his hands because he's putting pressure on a president, Biden, who's in a very difficult political situation where he's going to gamble our lives because he's afraid of the consequences of his bad policy in Ukraine. Because he's going to be embarrassed, we're going to die. When are we going to wake up and demand that the policies change, that this idiot in Ukraine no longer get to hold the fate of the American people, the fate of the world in his hands? Let's take control of our own destiny. But in order to do that, we got to get rid of him, and we got to change this policy.